Hello and welcome back to Chat with Shak. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone for viewing the post, for viewing my video, just your responses and your support and your comments and the phone calls and the text messages. And, for those that viewed it on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or my YouTube video, I just want to say thank you. It meant a lot for me. It definitely was something I was nervous about, and it brought me out of my comfort zone. But I feel like, hey, if you put something out there, you got to walk into it. And so here we are. And so here is the second installment of Chat with Shak. As I stated, this is going to be a journey, right? I'm going to figure out, hey, is it going to be really, what is it going to be? So I think my goal will be at least once or twice a month to do these videos. We'll definitely move to live sessions as I started. But for now, we'll continue with the recorded videos as I continue on my getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So as I talked about in the last video you have to set the standard and establish the tone in any room, in any Zoom. And so as I thought about, well, hey, what do I want to talk about on the next session? And so in business, what I found is, just based on my experiences, sometimes you have to put yourself out there. You have to decide what you want, and you have to wait on it. And I think, when you're waiting on it, that's the hard part. When you're waiting on things to happen, when you're waiting on things to be what you want it to be, when you're waiting for that opportunity to turn into what it could turn into, you have to be patient. And as I think about my career over time, and I've been professionally working, I guess, for 20 or so years now, and fresh out of college, I worked for a rental-car company. I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I worked in their management training program. Great, fantastic company, by the way. And I worked for them for about 7.5 years. And it was at Enterprise that I learned patience. And I learned that hard work is what matters the most. And sometimes in business, companies can get into a person has to have seniority. A person has to have X amount of years in that field to be great. And while I think that is true, I also think on the flip side, hard work and grit and passion can outwork anyone any given day. And I say that because as I think about my journey to where I am today, I had to be patient, but I had to work in my passion. And I had to know that things were going to work out. And so as I go back to my Enterprise Rent-A-Car days of wanting to be that branch manager, wanting to be that corporate accounts, business development manager, but here I was, this management trainee just starting out, fresh out of college, not knowing left from right, but knowing where I wanted to be. And so I knew I had to put in the hard work. I knew that I had to do what others were not willing to do, right? And I found myself, as I stated in my first video, like in leadership positions before I knew what leadership was. But what I realized at Enterprise Rent-A-Car was it really taught you how to be a leader from day one. It didn't matter how many years experience I had. It only mattered how I showed up. And it was how I showed up that I believe allowed me to just progress a lot faster in my career over someone maybe who had been there longer, who had their time and grade, so to speak. But it was about passion and outworking to get where you wanted to be. And so you have to show up, but you have to wait for it, right? And I think in that scenario, I knew I was showing up, but I also knew I had to wait. I had to wait for it. And I found myself getting there, right? But then as my career went on, I took some time off for about 3 years and came back to work, took some time off to be a stay-at-home mom. And I came back to work and found myself starting over. And I found myself having to wait. I found myself coming to the Washington, D.C. area, hearing about government contracting and thinking, what does this even mean? As I stated, I'm a huge Alabama fan. I'm from Alabama, and government contracting was not something that was widely known or talked about. And so when I moved to the Washington, D.C. area, I guess 10 years ago, I moved here, I found myself having to wait to wait my turn to get into an industry that I knew nothing about, but I knew where I wanted to be in that industry. And, you know, to know that, hey, I've been in this industry for 10 years. Where I started in this industry was as a part-time office manager. And it was a position that when I started, I felt, man, I'm taking this role that I'm overqualified for. But it was in an industry that I wanted to be in. Also an industry I knew nothing about, but I knew it seemed great from what people talked about. But I knew that I wanted to be in the industry. And so what I did from my own perspective is from day one, I worked hard. And I made sure that I outworked every single person around me. I made sure that I was starting before them, I was stopping after them, and that, you know, if it's something I didn't know, that I was Googling, that I was reading, that I was getting smart, because I knew at the end of the day, where I'm sitting today is where I wanted to be. In this leadership position, running a growth organization, but I knew I had to wait. And so as I think about just in business and you think about your own self and where you want to be and how you want to be, everything has to really line up, right? You have to do the hard work. You have to have passion. You have to set the tone. You have to establish the standard, but you also have to know, sometimes you just have to wait. And it's not that saying not necessarily you have to wait your turn, but to a certain degree, you do have to wait your turn, but you also have to recognize that you are where you are because that's where you're supposed to be. And as I think about the positions I've had over time, where I was a part-time office manager, then I was the office manager, then I went on to be like a business analyst, financial analyst, didn't know anything about it, but it was what I needed to do in that time. And every experience leads you to something. And even when you're not good at something, it's still an experience that you need, and you can look back on it and say, okay, I realize why I was in that place, why I was in that space. And so just as I think about things, you know, every experience leads to something, and whether it's good or bad, right? Because some experiences you fail and you feel like you're a failure at it, you feel like you're not succeeding, but every closed door is closed for a reason to get you where you need to be. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. You know, I hope that you all enjoyed it. And again, as I stated, just thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being on this journey with me. If there's things that you want to hear about, you want to talk about, you want to join with Chat with Shak when I'm ready to go live, let me know. It's coming soon. Hopefully the next one is coming. Got to figure out the whole video thing and what to do. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day and your week, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.